Hello humans, Minsky here. Imagine after 100 days of lockdown, you arrive at a restaurant to order a meal. The waitress presents you with a menu of 2.8 trillion options in only 0.54 seconds. What do you do? This is certainly not the average restaurant or waitress. In fact, this is what Google dishes up when searching the phrase content marketing. And whilst most human brains will struggle to conceive how Google is able to do this, all marketers understand the value of relevant, consistent content as part of their strategies. But with so much content being created and many companies needing to adjust their strategies, the question is content marketing still relevant? To find out, I spoke to journalist turned digital content marketer, Natalie Bosman.
Hi there, my name is Natalie. I'm a digital content marketing specialist. My formal training lies in journalism and I practice as a journalist for over 7 years. But since then I've moved into social media and content creation and content marketing, as well as some social media strategy. And I'm passionate about helping brands and companies with their digital content creation. I think now in a time of COVID-19, it's an extremely important time for content marketing. And I look forward to sharing some insights with you.
Well, thank you, Natalie. My first question is, in what way has content marketing been impacted by COVID?
Minsky, I think COVID-19 has impacted content marketing in a big way. Experts are saying that we've seen as much as 50% more internet usage. People are remote working, they're working from home, they're working under lockdown conditions, or they're practicing social distancing. And I think the influx and the demand for content is huge. But many people are saying that this is content marketing's time to shine. It's been on the up and it's a rising trend in the way that we position and market content for a long time. But I think now more than ever, we've seen COVID-19, if we think about the South African landscape, we've seen the decline of publishing houses such as Caxton Media. They've announced publications closing, Media 24, Associated Magazines. Just this week, Prime Media announced the start of some retrenchments. So, I think that traditional content space is changing, and I think that's opening up the way for new content creators and for content marketing as a whole. If there is this gap for content creation, yes, there's an influx of content in the market, but people that do content well, content that adds value to people's lives, content that is reliable, that is useful, that is well presented, that takes the audience's lives and insights into account. I think there is a massive market for that, and that is exactly where content marketing plays. I think you need to see it as you're not direct selling to any consumer. You're building a loyal consumer base. You're creating an audience, and sure, down the line, maybe that buying power comes back, but then you're top of mind, and you have this audience base that trusts you, that understands your brand, and that sees you as adding value to their lives over and above just a hard sell.
How should brands be adapting their content strategies in a time of COVID?
I think the first thing is to think like your consumer, speak like your consumer, and act like your consumer. Now is the time to be thinking about how has your consumer's world been turned upside down? What has happened in their world? Are their needs the same? Are their lives the same? Is their purchasing journey or user journey on your website or with your service the same? So I do think you need to be cognizant of how their lives have changed, and you need to speak to that, not in a condescending way, but in a way that adds value to them. So I think, something that's quite important for brands to realize is that purchasing power and buying power has changed, and people's needs and worries have changed. So perhaps now is the time for a collaboration. People are all thinking about a side hustle or a secondary source of income. Is now the time to collaborate with an online learning institution? Is it the time to offer a payment plan? Because you realize that people have a need for your service, but they perhaps don't have the income that they did have 6 months ago. I think you also need to just think about your content and position it in terms of how relevant is it. So is it relevant to the times that we find ourselves in? Is it appropriate for someone who is now working from home or working remotely or working on rotation? How relevant is your company in the fight against the pandemic? You don't have to be an essential service or contributing directly towards the pandemic, but how relevant is your brand in helping communities, in helping people, in looking at the new needs and the new problems that remote working, for example, or social distancing or lockdown has created? What relevance can your brand add? So I think relevance is a big part of a content strategy. I also think that brands need to look to reassurance. I think they need to not assume that their consumers know that they're taking all the precautionary measures, that they are looking after their staff members, that they have procedures in place should something go wrong, that they are addressing their couriers and delivering products or services in a responsible, meaningful way. I think a lot of brands might assume that consumers know they're following these regulations and rules, but they're not necessarily. And I think also now is the time to be real and authentic and honest with your content creation. We see newsreaders doing newsreels from their living room. I'm doing this video with you, Minsky, and I'm worried about the tree fellers outside that might be making a noise. These are the times we live in, and we can be real. I think this idea of creating perfect, absolutely immaculate content is out the window. We need to create something that's real, that's relevant, whether it's a behind-the-scene clip taken from your cell phone to show people what procedures are in place in your factory. I think consumers do want to know what's going on, and they do want to see that behind-the-scenes, authentic kind of content from your brand. Rethink that user journey, rethink your consumers' lives, rethink those user personas that you've created in your normal marketing strategy, and understand how that has changed in time of COVID. I think it all starts with your audience and your insights into their lives, and that's the base from which any good campaign would start.
Authenticity is of major importance in marketing right now. So too is being able to speak, think, and act like your customer. But as Google serves up a menu of trillions of results, should marketers be creating content for humans or algorithms? Look out for a bonus episode with Natalie Bosman as she tackles this debate. Thanks for your attention as I learn to stop worrying and love the pandemic.